Would anyone like a guided tour of my collection room? Well, you're in luck. Stay tuned. Hello, welcome back, and Happy New Year. Today we're going to take a tour of my collection. The last time I did this was New Year's Day 2023. So it's been 2 years and just about everything in this room has changed except for most of the artwork on the walls. All the toys on the shelves have changed location. I've rearranged, I've bought, I've sold, added and subtracted. So let's take a walk around and see what's here. And just to note, the light in here isn't all that great. I was hoping for some natural light today, but it's pouring rain out. So I will be interspersing some photographs in with the video so you guys can get a good look at everything. One of my collecting goals for 2024 was this shelf. I wanted as complete a collection of classic Spider-Man villains as I could get in Marvel Legends scale. And to me, classic is the first 25 years, 1962 to 1987. And yes, Venom is in there. He appeared in 88, I believe, but the black costume symbiote first appeared in 84, so that was a cheat. My collection, my rules. Next year I'll be adding the Chameleon to this shelf when he gets released in the Retro Card series. And after that, for classic villains, I think we're down to the D-listers to be created in toy form, like Stegron, Will-O-the-Wisp, the Grizzly, the Kangaroo. Who remembers the Kangaroo? I do. And I want an action figure of him. This shelf is a mix of Shogun Warrior characters, Japanese robots, Robotech, Power Rangers, and Micronauts. And you'll notice in the backgrounds of almost every shelf I have carded or packaged figures. I like to use those as background display. And some of them, like those Star Trek figures, do not correspond with what's on the shelf in front of them, but they do add a little depth and color. This next shelf is a mixture, mostly classic sci-fi, but I've got a few other things mixed in here as well. Some figures inspired by 80s toy lines and such. The first half of this shelf is Universal Monsters. Most of these are going to be Mego, Super 7 Reaction, and the Super 7 Keshi figures. And the second half of this shelf is going to be all Kaiju, as my 1970s Godzillas, the Super 7 reaction figure that looks like the old Aurora model kit, Gorgo, and the Mezco 5 Points Destroy All Monsters set that was gifted to me by Scuba Pete. The first half of this next shelf is going to be some 80s throwbacks. There's a couple of Zoids on there. Some Beast Saga figures in the front. Those are the modern take on Battle Beasts. And some Thundercats Ultimates. In the background are some Indiana Jones retro figures, because I had no other place to put them. This half of the shelf are some sets of combining robots from China. And I'll be doing videos on all of these different sets in 2025. I love transforming robots, and sometimes I have to go outside of what Hasbro offers in their Transformers line to find something interesting. Down here we have the real Ghostbusters. This is the retro collection that Hasbro came out with, all loose, and I have the carded Fright Features figures in the background. Next to the Ghostbusters, that's where the aliens and predators live. It's mostly Leonard, although I do have a couple of other items in there. A NECA Predator that was given to me by Boba Hicks. And in the front are some Hiya toys. Alien and Predator figures given to me by 2 Cents Toys. Now I'm on the floor to film this shelf, and this is the mostly G.I. Joe shelf. There's some Modern Adventure Team 1/6 scale figures there. Got some of the Eagle Force style figures there. Some G.I. Joe O-rings and a couple of vehicles. Captain Action repros in the boxes. White Elephant toys. Super Joe figures, aka Adventure Command. And at the end, the beautiful Robo Skull Mark II by Skeletron. And the pilot I'm using for him came in. That is a Red Shadows figure by Black Major. And hanging up in the back there's the carded Retro Action Force Desert Rat by Valaverse and Stan Solo. It's signed by Desert Rat Tony Roberts. Next to that is the Duke reaction figure that I had signed by Duke's original voice actor, Michael Bell. This is the closet in the room. Above it are some Gotham villains. And the closet is adorned with various posters and cutouts. All of the cutouts you see on this door were created by Vintage Spooky Company. And you can find them on Etsy if you're interested. As far as the posters, these are all just things I picked up at various conventions. Here's my art wall. At the top is a Dinobots print by Dan Canna. That is also signed by the voice of G1 Grimlock, Greg Berger. It's my Godzilla 1954 poster that's signed by Akira Takarada. Inhumanoids print by Frankie B. Washington. Trendmasters Godzilla print by Matt Frank. Creature from the Black Lagoon, that's signed by the artist Drew Struzan. Did a lot of famous movie posters. The Dream Kaiju fight of Godzilla vs. Gamera, that was a cover for Famous Monsters magazine, done by Bob Eggleton. Wonder Woman by Tom Grummett. G-Force recruitment poster, that was done by Anna McKendrick. And a poster for the old Diener rubber alien creatures, done by Tim Barron. Above the door to the room is my Marvel canvas with a bunch of classic Silver and Bronze Age Marvel characters. And on the back of the door coming into the room is the giant poster for Godzilla, Mothra, King Ghidorah, Giant Monsters All Out Attack. That is the actual title to the movie. Say it 3 times fast. And in the back there, we've got a couple of retro Dungeons and Dragons figures, Super 7 Unicron, and some nice Black Series retro carded figures that hang behind my first Star Wars shelf. And for Star Wars, I decided to limit myself to original trilogy with a couple of minor exceptions. Got that Snowspeeder this year from Epic Badger. It's my Imperials. Endor display. And I was able to get the Endor bunker as well as the Hoth playset from Wilhelm Toy and Hobby. It's good to have friends that are selling nice toys. My first Marvel shelf is the custom Devil Dinosaur I did. I did a video on that. These are mostly legends with a few exceptions. I've got those retro 5POA figures that Hasbro did that were really nice that they stopped doing. That Old West Ghost Rider is a figure I put together from Chicken Fried Toys. And the horse was from, I think, Schleich or Safari Limited, one of those companies. It's not quite the right scale, but it's the best I could get. Zabu, one of my favorite releases of 2024. There's Sauron back there. One of my favorite villains, the big pterodactyl man. You'll notice all my Marvel figures are based on the original comics, as close to the first appearance of the characters as I could get. Not really interested in the movie characters. There's another great release from 2024, Death's Head. And another one of my favorite figures back there, Zemnu, the Living Titan, that big white Yeti-looking guy with a bowl on his head. The second Star Wars shelf, Jabba's Palace with my vintage collection Jabba the Hutt on his throne. That was also a 2024 release. And my Star Wars collection is a mixture of Power of the Force 2, retro collection, and vintage collection. I'm not picky about mixing and matching. You can see the various carded figures I have on the shelves back there. And there's another vehicle I picked up in 2024, the Power of the Force 2 Slave 1. On this shelf I have my Monsterverse figures. These are mostly Playmates, but I do have a couple of figures from Leonard and Jakks Pacific. There's been a few different toy companies making the Monsterverse figures since 2014. But I think Playmates is going to have the license for at least a little while longer. Next to that is the Jurassic Park 93 collection. I don't think this series has been particularly popular. It's using modern toys to try to emulate the old Kenner line from 93. But it's a small enough line to collect, and I like it. Down here is the Superpowers collection from McFarlane, and a couple of odds and ends thrown in, like that Ultra Humanite that just made my white balance go wonky. That was from the Justice League collection from the old cartoon. In the back there you can see some Power Stars figures from Boss Fight from the Phantom and Flash Gordon that were done in the style of Superpowers. So I threw those in there. That Rocket Red back there is also from Justice League. And those Rocketeer figures are from Long Box Heroes, which are also done in the Superpower style. Here's the first Transformer shelf. Right here we have one of my favorite subgroups, the Wreckers. I do have some boxed G1 reissues in the back there. The Insecticons are hanging out here. There's Perceptor, Skylynx, that G1 style Legacy Prime that's more articulated than the original. Coming over to this side, it's mostly going to be the cast of Beast Wars. I was hoping they'd finish off the TV cast because there are still a few characters missing, like Quick Strike, Depth Charge, Rampage, but I'm not going to hold my breath. And I'm back on the floor again for this bottom shelf. That's the X-Men 97 Epic Heroes collection right there. Very small collection, fits right on the corner. Next to that is the somewhat disappointing Technodrome that was released in 24. In the back there I have a carded Boss Fight Bucky O'Hare figure that is signed by Bucky's creators Larry Hama and Michael Golden. And down here we get into the Turtles and some Turtles adjacent figures. Got a Robo-Force figure back there, a Toxic Avenger, one of the Biker Mice from Mars, and there are some Bucky O'Hare figures in the front. Besides that, everything else here is Turtles. And my Turtles are a mixture of different sizes and scales. I have all the major characters I want, and that's what's important. A party wagon down there in the corner. If Playmates does any more remakes or reissues like the Sewer Lair or the Mutant Module, I'm thinking I could fit them down here if I move the figures around a bit. On this part of the wall, I've got a nice print of an old toy called Gregory the Vampire Bat. That was done by Tim Barron. And I've got some carded Marvel 5POA retro figures going down the wall. I've got some of these loose, but I've got an entire set of these carded, every figure, and you can see them throughout the room. Top shelf on this wall is Transformers. Got combiners up here, like that big Baldigus Ruination in the corner. Got some of the modern updates of Pretenders, Monsterbots, Dinobots. There's a carded Reaction Bumblebee back there, signed by Dan Gilvezan, the voice of G1 Bumblebee. There's one of my favorite pickups of the past year, the Dino King combiner. Over in the corner there is the Seacon repaints from Beast Wars II's God Neptune, done in the modern generation style. Also have some modern updates of Decepticon Headmasters, Terracons, Dinobots. That's a sketch I had done at a convention. The Scarlet Witch by the late great master comic book artist George Perez. This DC comic shelf is a mixture of Mego and Mego style figures, the Mattel DC Universe line, some McFarlane Multiverse, those 1/18 scale Teen Titans figures are by Funko. And just like with my Marvel figures, I prefer DC figures in those original Silver and Bronze Age comic book styles, with a couple of exceptions, like the '89 looking Batman right there. All my favorite kaiju live on this shelf. These are mostly monsters from the Godzilla series. The original Gamera back there, Gaios, Daimajin way in the back. Here is the third and final Marvel Legends shelf. I said a while ago I was going to cut down on Marvel Legends, but then they kept coming out with nice looking figures, and also a lot of them wound up at deep discount, like the big Super Adoptoid in the back there and the Destroyer. A lot of these wound up on clearance. So thanks, Hasbro, for overproducing your toys. Right in the front here are the Secret Wars figures that Mattel did a couple of years ago with their original characters. Big Jim, Matt Mason, and Pulsar. That idea kind of went nowhere. Now we're in the home stretch. Masters of the Universe. And this is a combination of Origins and Masterverse. I usually don't double dip on characters. I get the version I like the best out of either Origins or Masterverse, and sometimes it also depends on availability. On the floor again for the final time. And this is the big toy shelf. Got Grayskull there. The Wind Raider and Zor perched atop. Most of my Motu vehicles are down here. Got a couple of carded Flash Gordon figures from NECA in the background. Titan Scorponok is here because this is the only shelf left that's tall enough to accommodate him. So he is subletting space from Eternia. And Snake Mountain on the other side. Over next to Snake Mountain is the electronic Robbie the Robot, and my Jumbo Machinder style Grandizer. Here is the final part of the tour, and this is the little island I have set up in the middle of the room. This is currently where all my comics and trades and various books are held. Unfortunately, I don't have any other place to put them right now. Hopefully that will change in the future. And atop there is a little makeshift shelf, which holds the rest of my big guys. Godzilla and Trypticon. And at their feet are my Godzilla's gang. So I hope you enjoyed this little tour of my stuff. Thank you for watching. Happy New Year. And we will see you in the next video.